30, 40, 50 years, give it to my kid. So we weren't necessarily trying to be green, we weren't necessarily trying to be anything, we were just trying to be lowest life cycle cost. We probably diverted from that a few places because we didn't want to do all the math to check it out, or once you get far enough down a path, it's hard to change. So the house, I guess starting with the orientation, so we found a lot. It's 16 degrees off of true south, which means you lose about 5% of your solar heat gain, which is essentially inconsequential, because finding a lot that faces south in Calgary is very difficult. The other nice thing is we're down in the valley, so there's Calgary Horticultural Society has this nice map on climate zones, and down in this valley is 1 or 2 climate zones warmer than anywhere else in Calgary. So we're also big gardeners, permaculturists, so that was a nice thing. We do take a little bit of a hit in the winter because of that hill on sun, but the amount of heat you get from the sun in the winter is so minimal anyways, we didn't care. Because of climate zone and being close to the river, close to the parkways, close to the paths, having a park right behind it was enough benefits. The lot's 55 at that side, 45 at this side, and it's got a big post there, so I didn't have to fight the developers who were going to subdivide. So we got the lot for a bit better. It's basically a square box with this little step back. This step back is for photovoltaics. We can get a probably about 5 kilowatt photovoltaic system up there. We're not doing solar thermal, just photovoltaics. Other than that, it's a relatively simple box. Structurally, it's not simple. When you try to maximize everything else, something's gonna have to give. So up here, there's no hallways. Everything's open. It's basically bedroom, bathroom, bedroom, mechanical room, half bath, kitchen over there, living room, dining room here. The main door is over here. So in theory, we could do a big enough ramp. All the doors are 3 feet wide, so a whole aging in place thing could be everything living on one level. The basement, which we can go to later, is a secondary suite. Both levels are about 1,125 square feet. So the basement's 2 bed, 2 bath rental suite that should pay the mortgage and a lot more. And then the loft right now is just open. Place for our son to play around and run around in. Eventually it could be another bedroom, a bathroom, a living room, whatever. The wall construction, or I guess starting from the basement up, we have 8 inches of foam on the bottom. It had to be, we did a raft slab, 8 inches thick of concrete. Because of this giant beam and these posts going down, my engineer required 40 psi foam. So it's EPS foam. 40 psi, you get to about 4.6, so it's R37, and it's still cheaper than the XPS at R5. We did 2 layers with a vapor barrier in between, so that the second layer protects the vapor barrier when you're doing your rebar and walking on it and all that other stuff. There's a few thickenings where the footings are, but otherwise there are no footings. So insulation around the whole basement. Coming up, the walls are 8 inches concrete. The outside of that is 2 4-inch layers of quick therm insulation, which is that shiny plastic stuff over there, or shiny aluminum stuff over there. The reason I went with quick therm is it's got the aluminum foil on either side, which supposedly is an air barrier and a vapor barrier, and a radon barrier if you tape it. It's also a termite, carpenter ant, mouse, anything else barrier because they don't like to eat metal. And the other thing is it has wooden battens in it, so that I can screw. So I screwed the first layer, I drilled it into the concrete, and the second layer I just screwed to the first layer, and then you can see the siding, which is hardy board, is nailed directly into the battens. So the price is about the same as EPS foam, but you can stick it on the wall easier, and you have something to put your siding on. So that's why I like that stuff. Then coming up one more level, this slab, or this base of the floor here, sits basically around the concrete, and then I have 2 3-inch layers of Roxel dual density cavity rock on the outside. I have plywood sheeting so it's breathable. I have the Siga brand air or weather barrier on the outside. Then I have R24 Roxel in the 6-inch cavity stud, steel or wood stud. Then I have the breathable air barrier by Siga on the inside. That's the white stuff you see. And then I have a 1.5 inch installation cavity inside of that. So the basement doesn't breathe, but it's concrete and it's below grade. You can't make it breathe anyways, so that's why I went foam. Above grade, I wanted it to breathe. So that's why I went Roxel and why I went Siga breathable barriers. The main reason is something's going to fail. Nothing's built perfectly. Water's going to get in. If you let it go out both ways, you're more likely to be durable. You can go outside and you can see the build-up. I also left a 1.5 inch, basically a 2x4 air gap on the outside before my heart. So basically, it's a full rain screen system. The dual density cavity rock is also over there. You can take a look at it. It says on the website it comes in 6 inches. It does if you order 3 houses worth of stuff. Otherwise, it comes in 3 inches. So the wall system is R45. It's very durable, but it's a buttload of time and energy to put into it. Because you got to put one layer up. First layer is easy, it just goes into the washers. The second layer, I had to get giant screws from Germany. Right? These guys, these are $3 each. I need 600. So this isn't too bad. This is the Roxel dual density. It's about $1.25 a square foot. It is really nice. You can kind of look at it. Dual density means this outside is thicker or more dense, so it repels water easier. The inside is thinner, or less dense, but that gives you the higher R value. So if it's R 4.3 per inch or R 13 for 3 inches, it's just rock, basically. So it can't mold, nothing can grow on it. It really isn't going to do anything. It won't settle. So I like Roxel. But yeah, the reason that I ended up with this wall system, A, is because I'm in the urban city, so 16 inches thick. I'm not losing a whole bunch of space. And at the time when we started the design, the city was being very strict about what they're accepting that wasn't standard. So we got scared of doing a double stud or something else that's simpler and just went with a basic 2x6 stud. The city knows what it is and just hung stuff off of it that they didn't really care about. I gave them a letter saying it's designed and they're happy. But would I do this wall system again? Probably not. Myself and my dad are doing all the labor for the outside, so that doesn't have much of a cost, but otherwise it's expensive. So this is the Siga brand tape. You can come and see it's very sticky. Very, 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 very sticky, which is good, because you want it to be sticky. It's also stretchy. So you can see at the corners of the windows, you don't have to do 5 layers to get a seal. You basically just take it off of paper and it'll stretch around the corner, which for those in construction and have ever tried to do a corner is actually a huge thing.
You just put all tuck tape on and then pull the pull.
Yeah, exactly. Because yeah, most people use tuck tape. Tuck tape doesn't stretch, doesn't officially stick to anything but Tyvek. Like they won't warranty against it on plastic. Whoever uses it on plastic. And this stuff has the paper, so you can stretch out a long roll, make sure it's straight, take off the paper. Tyvek doesn't have that, so you put it on, you get it. This obviously costs a lot more, but in the grand scheme of things, the whole air barrier and tuck tape for the house installed was $7 grand. So if I used plastic and tuck tape, maybe it would be 4 or 5. But for $4 grand to have a wall that's airtight and breathable, I was fine with that. This is the 40 psi foam. It's pretty strong. You can walk on and it doesn't care. The ceiling was going to be dense packed blown cellulose. It's just 16-inch deep truss. However, even like 3 months ago when we were putting it in, we could not find an installer in Calgary that knew how to do dense pack. Lots of people do loose pack. So we just threw bats up there. So I got an R60 instead of R55. But hopefully someone will be able to find someone that can do dense packed blown cellulose. Because if I was to do it again, a double stud wall with dense packed blown cellulose in the middle would be the way to go. The other, I guess, interesting things is the installation cavity is on the inside, so all the plumber, electrician isn't drilling holes all in your vapor barrier. 1.5 inch, which is what I have, is a bit tight for the electrician. That's why you see all these plates. He's got a code requirement that if it's not 38 mils from the wood, he has to protect it. So, can be done. It didn't take him much longer, and he didn't charge me much extra. But, yeah. And then obviously all the white pipes, that's the air system for the house. It needed a 4-inch stud, so I did 2x4 studs on some walls to get my HVAC system in. So we did a blower door test. The blower door test was 0.45, which we're very happy with. And my installer didn't seem to work all that hard for it. So if you keep your details simple, then it's not that difficult, or achievable. So if you're that tight of a house, you need to provide fresh air. We use the Zender system. Because it's a secondary suite downstairs, I have a Zender 200 that does the basement, and I have a Zender 550 that does the upstairs and the loft. Because of the way I had laid it out, the 200 is actually the one in that corner there doing the basement. The 550 is actually in the basement running up. Just the way the ducts ran easier.
Any issues with the city with no CSA on the Zender?
Nope, they are. That's why I got the 200 and the 550. The 350 is not approved, but the 200 and the 550 are CSA approved.
Right.
Yes. And the upcharge from a 350 to a 550 is $500. They both have electric preheat coils, so they don't frost up in the winter. And I've also put my heating system for the house. Both of them in the supply have a glycol heat coil that was made locally for about half the price of Zender's heat coil. That just runs off my hot water tank. We originally were just going to be electric, no gas, because we're like, the administration costs on gas are so high. Then we actually did the math on it, and the cost to get a watt of heat out of gas is a sixth the cost to get that same watt of heat out of electricity. So the payback, because residential gas lines aren't that expensive, is about 2 years before gas is actually cheaper than going electric. Or before you make back your upcharge to go to gas. And we did get a sealed combustion hot water tank that will be going in the basement shortly. And hopefully in 5 to 10 years when that hot water tank dies, there'll be a nice air to ground heat pump or something else that we can slap in there and run the glycol. Because we don't totally trust all the numbers, or it could be cloudy and -15 for a week in Calgary, we're putting in 8 hot water radiators, basically right beside all the supply airs, just as backup heat. So far, all the temp heat I put in the house is a 1500 watt electric heater in the basement, and it's never got below 0. It's normally maybe 5 at night, but probably 15 during the day. But we've had...
You run it right now?
I turned it off this morning when we got in. Yeah, but I did have it running overnight. But we've also had a very warm, very sunny summer, fall going into winter. The windows are from Clearwall. They're from Ireland. They are tilt and turn. This is tilt, which should be all the ventilation you ever need, and it'll stop all the water from actually getting in the house, and is locked, like people can't break into your house. This is open, which in theory you only ever need to do if you're cleaning the windows. The glass also came from Europe because you can't get good enough glass in North America yet. The south windows are R9, 62% solar heat gain. The north windows are R11, 42% solar heat gain because they never see sun and it doesn't matter. High visible light transfer as well, I think around in the 90s. So obviously, I would roast ourselves in the summer, so that's why if you looked outside, the overhangs are so big. So the overhangs that are already on there, shaded in the summer, and let the sun at a lower angle come in. We just basically designed that off of Google. We did a Google SketchUp of the house, put it into Google Maps, and then they got this really fun shading feature at the top. And you just shrink and grow your overhang till the sun doesn't hit it in June. And it actually was working because the house was up. We started building this middle of May. And by July, August, the roof beams were up and there was no sun on the upper loft. But then coming into September and such, the sun started to creep in, and now you can see the sun penetrates really deep. So this is the Zender pipe. So you can take a look. It is like it's very ribbed on the outside, but it has another layer on the inside, so it's fairly smooth. It's 3 inches, and it can turn basically into 90 degrees to fit inside a 2x4 stud, which is what it's designed to do. Every run is a home run. Generally, everything has 2 pipes going to it. So you supply in your bedrooms, you exhaust from your kitchens and bathrooms. It's a balanced system, and part of the quote from Zender is commissioning. The 2 Zender systems, once you get them to Canada, and the horrible conversion rate was 20 grand. So, not cheap, and don't really have a choice though. It's the only passive house rated HRV certified for North America right now. Any other questions at this point?
The doors are from the same...
Yeah, that door is from Clear Wall. My north and east door are $200 doors off of Kijiji. Because the $5,000 passive house door doesn't justify itself. And you can't put an electronic lock on passive house doors because they are multi-locking. And because it's a rental suite, we wanted an electric lock. So yeah, they just didn't pay that. But since that's a window, basically that's a window. It happens to be a door. What else? We didn't do any hot water recovery or anything. Basically, I don't know. The easiest way to do that is you just plug your shower. I guess also on a durable standpoint, if you notice there's no stucco on the building or parging at the bottom. I hate it because it's going to fall off in 5 years. So I use this stuff. It's basically an inch thick plastic. And again, I just screwed it or nailed it onto the battens at the quick therm, and that's my bottom transition to ground. Because hardy board needs to be at least 8 inches away from water. So because I'm building a house that I want to live in for a long time, I don't want to maintain it because that just costs more money. So that's why I'm using hardy board on the outside, the plastic stuff. The roof is a standing seam concealed fastener metal roof from West Form. I installed it myself with my dad. Installed really easy. It's got, I think, a 45-year warranty on it. We will harvest the water off of the roof. We'll just put it in 1,000-liter totes. An actual cistern never pays back.
So between the hardy board and the wall, you're also gonna have a gap.
Yes.
Area?
Yeah. When we go outside, if you see it, you can see it on this wall. So there's no gap where the basement doesn't breathe. Then there's an air gap, and then the hardy starts in the 2x4 rock sole stud.
And on the inside, you're gonna have drywall.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
And
might just use plywood on the ceiling, or just drywall everything. Depends on the look.
What's your design heat demand?
3,500 watts. So it makes sense then of why the 1,500 watt heater in the basement can more or less heat it.
So the PHP came out at
3,500 watts.
and the heat demand.
And it's pretty much tenant proof.
They'll prove you wrong.
Yeah.
They'll try.
So yeah, you can see the one HRV here. If you want to go downstairs, the room right to your left is our other larger HRV. And on that, I do have some cards if you want. The drawings are here. Some other stuff here. I'll ask some questions.
Interesting place to put it.
Right in the stair. Unusable for anything else.